Hi, my name is Amy Lugg and I'm going to talk about a trip I took to Madagascar with the Scouts in July and August of last year. There were 30 of us that took part in the expedition from all over the UK. As Madagascar is so different from the UK, we needed to have a year's worth of preparation camps in order to be prepared for the differences between our cultures. The main thing they prepared us for with these camps was how to deal with cultural shock and reverse cultural shock. So, cultural shock is the disorientation you may feel when experiencing an unfamiliar way of life. And as Madagascar is so much less well off than the UK, it's really hard to visualise what it will be like until you're actually there. One good example of how much less well off they are than us is we went out one evening for pizza in a richer part of the capital, Tana, and the pizza there cost in UK money about £2.30, but to us that may not seem very expensive. However, that's the equivalent of somebody in the UK spending about £140 per pizza if they went out to eat, because they earn so much less money than us. There was also support for reverse cultural shock when we returned. For example, we had a reunion camp when we got back. We had to get used to a completely different way of life while we were living out there, and it's very uncomfortable when you return, and it reinforces how privileged you are in comparison to the way they live in Madagascar. It can be really helpful to talk to other people who have experienced the same thing. It was also important for them to prepare us for the lack of running water, the pit toilets, which is toilets just dug into the ground instead of flushing toilets like we have here in the UK, and how to get safe drinking water while we're out there. We used filter water bottles and water purification tablets. In the top right hand corner of this slide you can see a shower, and we had to use, some of the showers had shower heads, but more often than not we would have to fill up a bucket of water and tip it over our head. And the bottom left hand corner was the closest thing we had available to a washing machine. We had to wash all of our clothes by hand. Also, practicing personal hygiene became really, really important because owing to the hot temperatures of Madagascar, there's a lot more diseases and bacteria about than there is in the UK. English is actually the third language spoken in Madagascar. The first is their native language, Malagasy, and the second is French. So during the prep camps, we learned a few phrases in Malagasy. For example, salama means hello, and veluma means goodbye. Another major difference between the UK and Madagascar is the type of food that they eat out there. So in order to prepare, we cooked and ate Malagasy-like dishes on our prep camps. They eat rice with nearly every meal, and in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see an example of one of the meals we ate. The green stuff is cassava leaves, which tasted almost like the green seaweed that you get around the edge of sushi. And there's also a banana, and they have their own type of banana in Madagascar that doesn't grow anywhere else in the world. It's a lot smaller than the type we get in the UK and a lot tastier too. There's also lots of different customs around food. For example, you have to wait until everybody has their food before you can eat, and then you stand up and you sing a prayer before every meal. The main religion in Madagascar is Protestantism, and it's a much bigger part of culture and society than it is here in the UK. So we went to Madagascar for about 3 weeks, and the trip was split into two halves. The first half of the trip we were based in the capital, Tana, and we were volunteering, and the second half of the trip we went travelling around the country. We did two main things when we were volunteering. The first thing we did was we were helping to build a National Scout Centre for Madagascar. It will be a bit similar, hopefully, to Gilwell here in the UK. In the top right-hand corner, you can see the name of the Scout Centre, Tranonbitsika, which I think means anthill, which is the idea that even if you're small, when you all work together, you can build something great. Then in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see us helping to make the supports for the dining shelter that they are building. We also spent a couple of days working alongside and living with the girls at AAF, which is a girls' home in the capital in Tana. There are 80 girls that live there, and most of them have either been removed from unfortunate family circumstances or there is no juvenile justice system in Madagascar. So often, when a child commits a petty crime, they'll be sent to adult prison. So sometimes they are given the opportunity to be sent to AAF, which will teach them some employable skills, like the girls learn to weave and paint and make products for a shop that they run. They also have a cafe there, which gives the girls an opportunity for employment. They also are able to go to school, and they have language lessons of English and French at the home. Sometimes the girls have unfortunately had children at a young age, so they teach them how to look after their children and become good parents. The photo on the far left was me helping the girls with one of their English lessons. They asked me to teach them some songs because they love to sing, and so I taught them Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and 10 Green Bottles. For the second half of the trip, we were split into two groups, one group to go north and one group to go east. I was in the group that went north. We saw some really incredible things. The wildlife was absolutely spectacular. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see a mother lemur with her baby, and this same family group of lemurs, their territory was where we were staying for a part of our trip north. And whilst we were there, we saw them every single day, just milling about in the trees really close to us. In the top right-hand corner, there is a canyon with some singi, which are quite famous rock structures in Madagascar. And we walked along the top of the canyon and we went down into the base, and seeing the red sand with all the different colours like purples and pinks and greys, it kind of felt like walking on Mars. It was incredible. And then on the bottom row in the middle, you can see the oldest baobab tree in the whole of Africa, which was in a city, Majanga, that we visited when we were going north. And it's currently being used as a roundabout for traffic. Scouting in Madagascar is actually quite different than it is in the UK. There's no beavers, and girls and boys within the movement are quite separate. They meet separately and they have different uniforms, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. But it's not the same as Scouts and Guides, as they both are within the scouting movement. Only girls are allowed to be cub leaders, and they still use scout names like we used to in the UK. Each necker colour in Madagascar has a significance. For example, one of my friends who had the similar necker to the one we have at First Smells, which was green with a yellow trim, apparently represents the mimosa tree, green for the leaves and yellow for the flowers. And singing and dancing is a much more important part of both scouting and their culture, where we would play wide games when we were camping. More often than not, they would sing and dance around a campfire.